Good morning and welcome to morning meditation. We're in Proverbs chapter 31. Who can find a virtuous woman? For her price is far above rubies. The heart of her husband does safely trust in her, so that he shall have no need of spoil. She will do him good and not evil all the days of his life. She seeketh wool and flax and worketh willingly with her hands. What a description of a godly woman. I believe every church ought to be teaching this to the young ladies. The book of Timothy tells us that the older ladies ought to be teaching the younger ladies. Other places in Proverbs, it talks about virtue being more important than beauty. It's just a shame in America that we equate outward beauty with being something special. You have no power over that. God's the one that makes us the way we are. And by the way, we shouldn't get upset with that, try to change it. The thing we can change is who we are on the inside. 2 Peter says, let it be the hidden man of the heart, speaking of a virtuous woman that can win her unsaved husband by her virtuous behavior. A pastor gave the story one time of a woman that was in his church, and her husband was a drunkard and a braggart, and went to the bar and told his buddies, yeah, if we come home at 1 o'clock in the morning, my wife will get up and cook us a full breakfast. And they didn't believe him and began to place wagers. So in his drunken stupor, he brought all of his buddies to his house. And sure enough, his Christian wife got up without complaint, fixed a sumptuous breakfast for them. When it was done and the men were a little bit more sober, one of the fellows said, I'm just amazed that you would do this. I don't know many women that would. And without batting an eye, she said, well, I prayed for my husband many years to get saved, and he hasn't. So I'm trying to make his life as comfortable as I can here, because when he gets to the great beyond, he's going to be suffering forever. And with that, she left the room, and all of his friends slunk out of his house. And a couple days later, in a sober state, that man came back, asked his wife, and got saved. Boy, we need that kind of virtuous woman in America. This idea of politicians, and women politicians especially, degrading stay-at-home moms that are doing the greatest job in the world, taking care of their family and their husband. Hey, if you need to work, I'm for that. But sometimes husbands and wives work because they've gotten themselves into a ton of debt, or the wife ends up working, the husband's working, nobody's taking care of the children because they're trying to get ahead. Maybe we ought to reevaluate what we value, what's important. Cars aren't important, houses aren't important, our children are important. Psalm 127 and 128 tells us that the children of our youth are like the arrows in the hand of a mighty man or a mighty woman. I want to encourage us to get our young ladies to study virtue. Getting back to what I was saying, politicians degrading women for being a Christian and not being a women's liber, women's rights. That's right out of the pit of hell. That is evil today. God gives husbands and wives equal billing in the marriage. They're to submit one to another. The husband is the head of the wife takes the head of the home. They both take care of their children. They both love each other, and they both love God. That's the way God intended it. Today, we reward young women that are not only turning from godly virtue, but they're turning to wicked ways. All of these lesbian politicians. Yeah, this is one church, and I'm one pastor that's going to say, if the God of the Bible calls it wicked, we're going to call it wicked. But if God calls a virtuous woman righteous and blessed, we ought to call them righteous and blessed. Boy, we have a lot of blessed ladies in our church. And men, you're blessed by a good wife. Let's make sure we take the admonition here and live it this week. God bless you and have a good day.